as I mentioned, to open a new page of our relations with our Hungarian friends. We are interested to establish high-level dialogue at the level of president, at the level of relevant authorities, and we gave such a signal to our Hungarian partners. Of course, the most important thing for us at this stage, 90 billion loan for our macro financial stability. And also it's about strengthening of our negotiation position. It's about confidence. And I hope that we will proceed. And of course, to continue support of our efforts to become an EU member. We expect opening of 6 clusters. For us, our EU membership is an element of security guarantees and future security infrastructure. So it is really important to proceed and to get new quality of our efforts to become an EU member. And of course, we must and we understand this to fulfill all the criteria.
Minister, just on EU membership, while you mention it, give us a time scale. What year are we looking at? Ideally, when do you think Ukraine could become a fully fledged member?
You see, lesson learned in Ukraine, we have another feeling of time. We don't want to waste time. Our people deserve to become a part of European family. We are conducting necessary reforms, and we want to become. It is our strategic choice. We are ready to become an EU member. My personal assessment, it is important for us, for Ukrainian society, that this European track will be moved from the foreign policy sphere to domestic policy. That's really important. And of course, we are interested to move quickly, and I do really hope that the next presidency, Irish presidency, will be a historical one from the point of view of concrete outcomes for the European enlargement, not only for Ukraine, but also for Moldova and for Western Balkans.
Minister, what would membership of the European Union mean to Ukraine, and what would the EU benefit from welcoming you in?
New quality of standards, new quality of life for every Ukrainian family, of course. New rules, new standards. And now Ukraine is a contributor of security. Europe needs Ukraine because of our capacities, with our defense industry, with our 1 million army with daily combat experience, with our energy infrastructure. So it will be merit-based approach. It will be mutually beneficial. And of course, we will contribute into the global European strengths to be more competitive with our global actors.
Andrii, can I ask, were you surprised, just one last question on the Hungarian election, were you surprised to see someone as high profile as J.D. Vance arrive in Budapest urging the people of Hungary to vote for Viktor Orban? What was your reaction when you saw that happen?
So, of course, we were following strictly all the meetings, all the visits, but now we see the results. Now we see the results, that the main important thing that we could expect a new page of our relations with our Hungarian friends. The most important thing.
Now that we've mentioned the US administration, what kind of friendship would you like to have with Washington going forward?
Well, our assessment, and I'm confident that the most challenging period of our relations or of our diplomatic bilateral track behind us. we managed to settle this track properly, very pragmatically, with respect to the position of each other, and Ukraine really has cards. That's the reality. We welcome US efforts to make just and comprehensive peace closer. My personal assessment that without USA, without support of the President Trump, it is unrealistic to achieve just and comprehensive peace. It is unrealistic. So we need engagement of the USA, and we welcome their peace efforts.
President Trump has said a lot about supplying and not supplying weapons to Ukraine. What have you seen in real terms on the battlefield over the last 6 to 7 months?
We have good cooperation with our American colleagues. We need support from their side in strategic air defense systems, Patriot systems. Such a reality that only this system could shoot down ballistic missiles. Only this system. Yes, we have European system, SAMP-T, but if we are talking about effective approach, Patriot. That's why it is so crucial to use instruments and tools of the Pearl program and to continue our cooperation with the USA to buy this type of air defense system for Ukrainian needs. We should be prepared for the next tough winter, unfortunately. Our approach, such an approach, and of course, the element of protection of our energy system is air defense system. So we need to continue this cooperation, and at this stage, no reasons to complain.
Minister, talk to me about peace talks. What is happening? What is likely to happen? Are we any closer to leaders sitting down and formally agreeing a ceasefire?
Well, Ukraine have doable proposals. Our approach, let's stay where we are. Ukrainian side is ready for unconditional ceasefire with a further monitoring. We have 20-point plan. Yes, still several points, more sensitive points are not approved, and it is understandable how Ukraine could accept this demand or ultimatum of withdrawal of our troops from Donbas. It is not doable, and additionally now Russian side demands from us Russian jurisdiction over these territories, Russian currency, Russian flag. Ukraine will never accept any formula, any initiative at the cost of our territorial integrity and sovereignty. That's our approach. Because of the situation on the Middle East, we have maybe delay in our peace negotiations, but we are in a constant contact. I mean our negotiations teams. We expect the visit of the American negotiation team to Ukraine to discuss how we could proceed, how we could proceed. But in any case, in parallel, we need to pressure Russia. We need to make Russia weaker. This is the only way to speed up our peace efforts. No illusions, no wishful thinking, only strong, decisive steps. Putin regime must understand consequences of not being constructive. As I mentioned, we are ready for the ceasefire. And Putin also must admit that he will never achieve his goals on the battlefield. He will never achieve. And that's why it is so important to continue this collective efforts to end this war. Our strategic goal to end this war. Our people pay the highest price. Our people suffering. The war is on our territory. So Ukraine is not the obstacle for peace. And Ukraine is not losing and Russia is not winning. That's important to have this perception.
So, Minister, just on that point, a lot of people say the war has reached a frozen stalemate. Russia can't win, Ukraine can't win. Do you accept that this is where we're at?
Yes, I could say you that we're stuck in our peace efforts, unfortunately. So in any case, we need to continue these efforts to end this war. That's our interest. This war is not about Ukraine. It's about principles. It's about UN Charter. And we are open for the diplomatic track, how to end this war. Personally, I believe that we could achieve tangible results mainly by diplomatic efforts.
Minister, there are reports that Russia is spending 40% of GDP on defense and the war in Ukraine. That's clearly not sustainable. Do you think Putin is coming to realize that he has bitten off far more than he can chew in attacking your country?
We hope so. We hope so. Besides this, they are losing now, averagely, 30,000 soldiers per month, visually confirmed deaths. But they don't care. They don't care. So it becomes more and more harmful for them. And once again, he must admit that he will never achieve on the battlefield his results. That's important.
Talking of the battlefield, I've seen reports that other nationalities have been found dead in the trenches, countries in Africa, North Korean soldiers famously. Talk to me about the realities of what your people, your soldiers, have found on the front lines in terms of who is wearing Russian uniforms.
You're right. Losing so many soldiers on the battlefield, Russia started illegal campaign to recruit soldiers mainly from Africa and Asia. And we have in our prisons more than 300 foreigners who fought against us on Russian side. So also we need to stop this illegal recruitment. That's important. And our policy is try to replace our soldiers by drones, ground drones, by different types of drones, to rescue, to save the life of our soldiers. That's our approach.
Minister, talk to me about your president, how he keeps going, the energy levels he shows every day. He's such a consummate professional when he speaks. Talk to me about the man behind the presidential suit, if you like, or the suit he doesn't wear, as the Americans say.
You see, he knows how to roll with the punches. That's true. He preserves his humanity. Yes, he is very energetic. He acts like a true leader. I spent with the president in bunker at the beginning of the war more than 1 year and a half. It is a huge responsibility. It is really a huge responsibility, and he took this responsibility. He took this responsibility, and he demonstrates now true leadership, how to protect interests of his country abroad.
Can I ask then, Minister, how do you keep going? So you lived in a bunker for 1.5 years with Zelensky. You know, every day a new problem, a new crisis, more fatalities, bomb raids, everything you've seen. And you said to me at the start of this conversation, before we stepped foot on the stage, that last night was the best sleep you've had in ages because there were no air raid sirens. How do you keep going on a human level?
You see, I think that every Ukrainian family now has the same experience. We are protecting our homes, we are protecting our country. It is really huge, huge responsibility. I'm happy that I have my family. It is a source of true inspiration for me personally. I started to value simple things. To value simple things which are happening now. I believe in our European future, and I get inspiration from the concrete results of our activities. We became stronger, 1 year stronger, as I mentioned at the beginning. Putin failed to break the spirit of our people. And if we are talking about Kyiv, for example, it is not possible to buy tickets to attend theater in advance. So life is going on. That's such a mysterious, you see, a mysterious element of Ukrainian resilience and resistance. We hold the lines.
You mentioned the word resilience. Was this something that was in Ukrainian people always, or do you think war has brought it to the surface and people do what they have to do to just get through?
I think it is in our DNA, my point of view, but this war reopened for us how strong, how resilient we could be, it seems to me. And also the beginning of this full-scale aggression also reopened for the world. For the world, how important is Ukraine? How important could be the contribution of Ukrainians of my country? And for every Ukrainian family, 24th of February 2022 divided the world and our life before and after. That's true.
Minister, a lot of European countries have been spending significant amounts of cash on defense in the last 12 to 18 months, not just because of President Trump's remarks, but because of a real concern they have about what they're seeing from Putin's Russia. Poland in particular, Germany spending a lot of money as well. Given your experience, what would you say to countries who haven't been spending that level of cash?
We have a good example, Türkiye. Türkiye now could come, as far as I remember, 80% up to 80% of the needs of their army. That's a true miracle, how Türkiye scaled up defense industry. It means we should become more self-sufficient to reduce dependence on critical materials, on critical elements of weaponry, to scale up national defense industries. Now Ukraine could cover 40% of the needs for our army. And we are moving forward technologies, to develop technologies, competition, feedback from the battlefield. Recently we visited Germany, and I met with one German company. They scaled up their production 8 times only based on Ukrainian feedback from the battlefield. So our combat feedback also is very important for our European allies, and we are sharing with them. We are ready to co-produce. We are ready to co-produce strategic drones or unmanned products with them, by this contributing in their security. In any case, our assessment, if we are talking about priorities, air defense systems, of course, artillery and artillery shells. They are crucial for for the conflicts or wars of the present times.
Minister, that figure of 90 billion euro from the EU, which is about to be unblocked and sent to you, what does that mean in real terms? How long will that last?
We need this money. We need this money. Of course, the best way to start to use frozen Russian assets. The situation is such as we have now. So for us, this 90 billion loan is really critical, even to continue the development of our defense industry. At this stage, only half of our capacities to produce drones are really used. So we have potential to double our production. But for this, we need additional resources. It's about our resilience and resistance, and also it's about strengthening of our negotiation position.
Minister, talk to me about the changing face of warfare. We've spoken at length about drones. This technology has changed everything.
You're right, and as I mentioned during our conversation, that manpower now becomes not to be an advantage no longer. It's about rescuing the life of our soldiers, so that's important to understand. That's about effective measures how to achieve results on the battlefield. For example, deep strikes. Now we have new reality with our deep strikes, and probably, according to the statistics, we used, if compared with Russians, we used more deep strikes than Russians. That's important. Now we have advantage on some types of drones. And it is like a game changer on the battlefield. And we will continue to develop our capacities. And long range ammunition, if you ask me about priorities or about lesson learned, long range ammunition. It is crucial to have such capacities to produce long range ammunition.
That figure you gave me earlier, the Russians are losing 30,000 men every month. There are reports in London that Putin has now reached a stage where that figure can't be replaced. He's losing more men than he can recruit every month. What does that mean to the Russian war machine?
It means problems. It means tensions in their society. It means necessity to engage foreigners. It means problems with their industry because they lose so many people on the battlefield. And you are right that now they are losing more than they could recruit. And also it was publicly announced that the goal of our armed forces to achieve the number 50,000 Russian soldiers per month. Only by drones.
Begs the question, how is your recruitment then in turn?
Well, it is a process. It should be improved. And one of the tasks for the newly appointed Minister of Defense, how to improve the process. 5th year of this war. Of course, we have some challenges. Of course, we have some problems, and we will try to arrange it properly.
Andrii, as well, I want to ask your opinion of people who you mentioned who have come to Ukraine to fight for Russia, mercenaries from foreign countries. What's your opinion of these people, and why do you think, clearly cash is an incentive, but why do you think they're coming to Ukraine in such numbers?
You mean volunteers to join Ukrainian army?
No, Russia. The people fighting for Russia who you were killing at number, and you say you have 300 in prisons. I mean, what would you say to these people?
You see different ways, and it is a result of illegal Russian activities. Somebody was promised to study in Russia. Somebody was promised to get Russian citizenship. So many of them, they were not aware about the real, purpose of their engagement. But some of them voluntarily joined Russian army. So it depends from the situation, but mainly Russians use economical problem of the vulnerable categories of societies in different countries.
Minister, how close are we to elections in your country? You know, there has been criticism from the Americans, the right, particularly Republicans in America, saying that there should be elections, but I'm assuming elections can't happen until there is a ceasefire.
Well, many times it was confirmed. President is ready for the election, Ukraine is ready for the election, but we need proper security conditions. We have 1 million soldiers. We have 8 million Ukrainians abroad, which were forced to leave the country because of Russian aggression. We need to have infrastructure. Now we have martial law. We need amendments to our legislation. So we even proposed Russian side through Americans, let's settle ceasefire. And we are ready to organize elections during this ceasefire. So we are ready.
Minister, how important was it for you to be here today, to come to Antalya Diplomacy Forum and to speak like this in front of so many people from so many different countries?
Of course, it is extremely important, and for me, as a minister of the country which is in war, to take such decisions to conduct visits always very difficult. It means that my presence here is important for my country, for our peace efforts. Always I use such platforms to conduct many meetings with my counterparts, especially from Africa, from other regions, with further developments. Of course, to keep Ukrainian agenda in top priorities. It is always important. And of course, to use this opportunity to discuss some pending issues with our Turkish friends. So really very important.
And just mentioning Türkiye, how important is the role of the Turkish government in terms of diplomacy, what you've seen, your experience here in Antalya Diplomacy Forum so far?
Turkey is a country which has unique diplomatic experience and global influence. We are thankful for our Turkish friends, for example, for the establishment of the grain corridor in the Black Sea after the beginning of the full-scale aggression. And here also, now we rely on our Turkish friends, for example, to organize a meeting at the level of leaders. So we are ready for this meeting also in Türkiye. I mean, for the meeting between Zelensky, Putin, Mr. Erdogan, maybe Trump. We conveyed this message to our Turkish friends during the visit of my president recently. Turkey plays a very important role in our peace efforts.
Minister, as we near the end of our conversation here, and I'm very grateful for the time you've given me today, it's excellent. There's a phrase you've used 3 times in the past hour: we hold the line. Some people will be asking for how much longer. Do you think Ukraine can keep holding that line?
Thanks for asking me this question. Ukrainian resilience and resistance should not be justification for the endless war. We want to end this war. We have a chance to end. We use any opportunity. That's why also I'm here to speed up peace efforts. We need to end this war.
On that note, I will say thank you very much, Minister. Dujai Jakuyu.